Okay, this is just a quick update on the clarifier modification for the President McKinley's. I was setting this radio up for a customer. It's brand new out of the box, and he wanted the clarifier unlocked. So I'm not going to completely recover that. I did a whole separate video on that shows how to unlock the clarifier in these, but I unlocked it, and both clarifiers, both the fine and coarse, centered, and I couldn't get it aligned. I could get within 200 hertz, and then the frequency would start to go back up. I couldn't get the frequency down far enough. Now, yes, I could have just offset the clarifier control a little bit, but then the clarifier is not going to be centered. So, if you do unlock the clarifier in one of these radios, and remember, if you unlock the clarifier, you're going to have to align the radio, at least that oscillator circuit. But if you do unlock it and you cannot get the frequency aligned properly, here's how to fix it. Now you're going to, of course, need to be able to work on surface mount stuff. So yeah, this might be out of the realm of a lot of people, but if you're good with surface mount, the part you're going to need to change is an 0402 size part. So actually, get it here off the bench. There's the old one, stuck to the tweezers. That little tiny guy right there. It's a little ceramic capacitor. Yet fly droppings, as I say. So that in the radio from the factory is a 3 picofarad capacitor, and what that is, that's the capacitor. Get set up here so I can zoom in on it. That is the capacitor that is in parallel with the varactor diode. Or actually, it's not in parallel. Look at the schematic, but it is attached. I think it goes, what, to ground? Oh, where is it on the schematic? There it is. Yeah, that capacitor it's not in parallel with it, but is attached to the cathode side of the diode and the crystal, and then the other side of that cap goes to ground. But anywho, up too far. Come on, back in focus, little guy. There we go. So, the capacitor you're going to need to change the value on is, let me get my pointy stick, is that one right there that the pointer is setting on. So here is the varactor diode, and you can actually see the schematic logo of it silk screened on the board there. So with the radio front facing you, in front of that varactor diode is that ceramic capacitor. Like I say, from the factory, that's a 3 picofarad. What I did was increase that to a 5 picofarad. So that's why I have all the ATC tuning kits out here. In case you've never seen these, they make doing stuff like this really easy. They're capacitors on a stick. That's what they're meant for. Or RF microwave capacitors, but yeah, they just have capacitors on the end of non-inductive and capacitive sticks. They're glued on there, and then you just touch that into circuit. So yeah, actually the one that I used was like I stuck a 5.1 or something in there, and that jumped the frequency enough because of course capacitance adds in parallel. So I had played around with it a little bit and found that coming up with a total capacitance of about 5 picofarads worked fine. So if you have a 5 picofarad or a 5.1, that's probably going to be, I'm trying to think here in my head, I think that would be the more common capacitance, but somewhere right around 5. So like 5, because that's actually what I used, was a 5 picofarad. You can see it right there. And there's no saying, don't go rushing out and buying 5 picofarad capacitors, assuming that, yeah, if your frequency's off, if you stick a 5 picofarad in there, it's going to get your frequency back so your clarifier is centered. You will need to play with that, because that can vary from the, because this is a tuned circuit. So, crystal variations and varactor diodes and that tunable transformer and everything else that's in that circuit is going to affect that. So, you may need a 10 or a 12, or you may need less. You may need to only add 1 puff. You might be able to get, or you may need to actually go the other way. You may need to go down in capacitance. But that's the capacitor to play around with right there. So, like I say, I get the feeling that's probably going to be the average if people are having a problem with this. It's probably going to need to be brought up in frequency. Usually when there's something like that, when you run into a problem with a modification, usually it's going to be about the same in most radios. So yeah, if you have that problem, if you've got about 200 to 300 hertz where your frequency is too high, you need to bring that oscillator's frequency down about that much. Try a 5 picofarad. If you're at probably 500 or more hertz high in frequency, you may need to go to like a 7, God, I can't even remember what the heck the value step would be there. 6.8 maybe, yeah, 6.8, what's the next after that, 8.2, so yeah, I might try like maybe a 6.8. Again, if your frequency is even higher still and you need to bring it down farther, then you might need to go to like an 8.2 puff capacitor. So, in any case, that's the guy to change, that little guy. So, you know, front of the radio facing you, component side up. Zoom back in there, and it is that capacitor right there, right in front of and to the right of that varactor diode, and right to the right of the transformer, which is actually the transformer. You would be adjusting this one right here. So that's the cap to change. So like I say, I just wanted to update the clarifier modification on this, just in case anybody else tries to do the clarifier modification. You've got a frequency counter, so you can actually, you know, align the radio properly once you've unlocked the clarifier, and you've run into a problem. That's the cap to change. That's the capacitance that's attached to the varactor diode there. So playing with that little guy's value right there. Yeah, these things are so small. So yeah, you're going to need a microscope. You know, that's trying to do 0402. You can do it, but yeah, it's going to be tricky. Especially this little guy where it's located beside that transformer would be a little bit tricky. So yeah, it's definitely microscope time. So hope that helps anybody that's been having troubles trying to unlock their clarifier and get their radio aligned.